This is a demonstration with using the async annotation with Spring Boot and Hibernate. Right? We'll start off with our MySQL backend. This is connected to the AWS RDS that we're using the backend database and selecting all from contact. And we have 9 entries here, right? And to show you the result first without the async enabled, right? This is my API endpoint, and I want to basically get each of these, right, manually, and I want it to be a one big just one JSON response, right? So as you can see, as I hit the request, it's doing the Hibernate queries in the backend API server, right? Um, and what it's doing again is it will basically do the query for each name and put them all together as one, right? So we're doing multiple queries, and because this is yet without the async, it would be slower. So this is our benchmark around 27 seconds. Now let's try to enable this first. Um, Enable async and just restart the server, and let's go back to Postman and wait a couple of seconds, and we should try to send that request again. And again, this is expected to reduce the response time drastically because it's using multi-threading, right? And see, it slashed it more than half, now down to 10 seconds. Now we're done showing, enabling the async, which is this one, and the former one, which is without the async, right? Let's now dive deeper to the code, right? First, you may want to uh, have this enable async in your entry point so that again it will use all the async annotations that you placed, right? So you may want to first create an executor configuration file, right? Config, and then make sure you uh, create a pool size, set the max pool size, the queue capacity, and initialize the executor, right? So that we will basically have a um, threads. Next is once we basically hit this endpoint slash all names, right? It will basically need a request body, and it will be in the form of contact with names request. And to quickly check this in the domain, it's just a list of string and the variable name names. Okay, so let's head back there, and basically it would um, use the contact service dot get contact of names and pass the parameter contact with names request get names. Okay, we already know which one is this, right? And the get contact of names, it's basically part of your service, which is transactional, right? And you would basically have a completable future, and don't forget your optional for null values, and basically pass that as a stream. So your list of name is now passed to in a string, right? And now once we try to map them first, right? So in each of the name, we can now call the async contact service, and we can go here. We pass each name in this service, and what it does is basically would um, you go to this function, and it's a completable future, right? And don't forget now to put your at async um, annotation, right? And what is this custom executor? We can quickly go to this if we click, and this is basically the function name of the executor, right? So going back, now we're here, right? You pass in each name. For each name, um, we basically try to simulate the sleep as well. And what it does now is for for each name parameter, we would pass that in the contact DAO layer, we define contact by name um, function or method, right? And this what method, what it basically does is you pass in your the name, the string name, and it should return an optional contact, again optional for null values, right? And we can click going there because that was an abstract, or sorry, an interface. So let's go to an implementation, right? So how is this implemented? Basically, it would grab the name. I just name it full underscore name because that's the name in the database. And then create a session, does the query, and you can see here is it will um, select where full name, right? So it will basically retrieve a single result, right? And to make sure it's a single result, um, after we set the parameter to the query, we have the query to just get a single result, right? You can also limit it to one, but we can also do this. And then we basically cast it to a contact object and return the contact object, right? And now we can head back to the this one. Once we get the contact object, we pass into a optional contact object, and we can now return a completed future, right? And we pass this here and return the completed future. Now, once this returns, right, we can now head back to where this was used, and the completed future, which is a single completed future, we can now basically uh, get the result into an array and create a completable future array, right, or list. And then the next thing we would do now is to get all of the contact futures, which is this one, the array of completable future with the contact object, and then apply, right? So to return array of streams, where we map, we join to check if it's present as well. And again, we do some mappings now so that we can build the contact object in each of them with the contact domain, right, with the builder. And once we're done with each of the contact, we collect them again and basically convert them to list. And then we use the all contacts future, this one, and we join them, right? So that we can wait for everything to finish, right? Like the threading, the thread join, right? Wait for everything to be completed, like to get the whole big, all the contacts, right? So now we can return the contacts, right? Which is a list of contact domain. And let's see, heading back. So this is now done, and we assigned it as again a list of contact domain. And now we can basically respond using the respond entity dot okay dot body, which is the list of contacts, right? And this would return a JSON response. So just a recap. So what we needed was the executor config, right, to basically create the thread pool size. And we also need to add the um, add async, and it should be, if I remember it correctly, it should be here. Nope. Service contact service, and yes, it should be when we call the async contact service. So okay, the executor config, the @async annotation, which links to the executor config, and also don't forget to add the @enabled async. Okay, that's all. And again, this is using the asynchronous or @async annotation in Java boot with Hibernate.